Welcome back, everyone, to the Spend Life Well show, where we talk about all things faith and finance, helping you align your values with your wealth. I'm Certified Kingdom Advisor Mark Trice, and today in the studio here with me is one of our newest financial consultants, Sam Chapman. Sam, welcome to the Spend Life Well show.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
All right, so today we're seeing kind of a trend amongst younger adults. And you being a younger adult, younger than me, adult, I thought we'd have a conversation about that, just trying to really kind of tackle this issue. And the shift that we're seeing amongst these younger investors is that there's this sentiment there that the playing field or the traditional financial roadmap is not the same as it used to be. In other words, for the last several decades, it was very traditional you get an education, which leads to opportunity. You get a good job. You save for the future and future goals. You buy a home. You start a family. And younger adults today are not really following that same trend. You work hard, you get a degree, buy a home. Those things aren't happening the way they used to. Do you sense that amongst young adults, that there's a frustration there amongst that group about their financial picture?
I think so, yeah. I think we see a lot of people taking on more speculative positions where maybe they're just trying to get ahead. So, we have everything from people just investing more in cryptocurrency or looking to, what's going on in social media. Maybe there's a guy on TikTok that is tweeting about Dogecoin or, posting about Dogecoin. And so, the behavioral investing is changing a lot for that.
So we see a lot of those changes going on. And we also see many young adults carrying an extreme amount of student loan debt. Mm-hmm. That's always been a burden there. And the entry-level roles that are there that used to be, that was a natural step. You went and interviewed, you got a job after college. Those aren't there. They're increasingly competitive, and many of them are being automated by artificial intelligence and things. And it seems like affordability for a new home has just kind of gotten out of reach. I think the average median price of a typical American home in the U.S. is somewhere around $330,000 for a purchase. And to top it off, growth in income hasn't kept pace with inflation of real estate, and so that puts young people in a different time frame. But the same principles still hold true as they always did, Sam. But for young adults, if that traditional path feels uncertain, what's replacing it?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, like I was saying, highly speculative assets, just people taking on more risk, for sure.
So you don't have to confess, but are there some of you out there that were investing in meme stocks?
Oh, the NFTs.
In the NFTs and the meme stocks that were out there. Don't mention any names.
I knew people. Like I knew people that did that.
And we saw it happening too. And we're just like, this is crazy. This is stupid. You should not. This company has no value other than they're almost on the brink of bankruptcy. But then some people were trying to manipulate that stock. And most people in that situation, I'm thinking of one in particular, but I can't name it because otherwise our compliance department will make us redo the video. But it was up over 400% in just a few days, and then it quickly crashed back down. Mm-hmm. So, there's that types of risks that you're talking about. I think one of the things, and I think it's the product of our generation, that everything feels so compressed, right? Time. Everything has to happen faster. We want to have instantaneous rewards. And that just doesn't happen that way. But social media makes it seem like that we should be having that way. And I get upset, especially with these, they're called finfluencers now, right? The finfluencers that are telling you how to get rich quick on the TikTok videos, right? We're not allowed to do TikTok videos, in our profession because it's not that great. So Sam, so do you think all this compressing of time and seeming that, what used to be traditional goals of, hey, this is going to take time, you cannot replicate your parents' lifestyle the day you graduate college, right? So, but we have this shift that we have to do it quickly. Have to do it quickly. Now, we're all impatient things. So, Sam, let me ask you a question. Do you think this has anything to do with our short attention spans?
That's a great question. I mean, I feel like maybe I should be asking you that question.
Yes, you were supposed to on our outline.
uh, but it's interesting. I mean, the world that we're growing up in is it's different. There's a lot more things that are vying for our attention. We have social media, and so I think we're just used to instantly getting the answers that we need to things. We're not used to committing to like a longer term approach and saying, hey, I need to, be disciplined about this and build this over time. This doesn't just come overnight.
Yeah, no, I think that the compression of time is, we're just impatient,
Mm-hmm.
and I am too. I want things now that I probably should wait to save up and do. So, do we have the tendency to maybe use a credit card or debt in some capacity to do those things? So, I was thinking about this, and young adults really need to ask, what do I do to get to where I want to be? I feel like, Sam, that young adults are not setting the right goals, or maybe they're not setting goals at all. That they're missing the point that you don't have to have a new home right now. Maybe you're able to get into a starter home, or maybe you have to change things. I think that there's another trend that's going on is young adults are not getting married as young as they once did. We talk about it in our office quite a bit. But it's one of those things where all these different changes, the delay in creating households and getting married and things of that nature, all make things feel like they're unattainable. And that's not true. That's not true. We just have to rethink about how we approach things, and we have to remove the distractions. But we have to ask ourselves, if you're a young adult that's wanting to get ahead, maybe you're feeling in a cycle that you're trapped, you need to ask that question, what do I need to do to get to where I want to be? That's the first step there with that. The solution is not to make those risky bets with investing. The meme stocks, the Bitcoin, those are all considered speculative investments. They're not even really called investment. They're called speculation.
Mm-hmm.
So did you take Western civilization in college or high school or anything like that?
I did not. No.
You did not. Okay. What are they teaching in schools anymore, Sam? You got to teach history. So think of the gold rush in the 1800s, right? Everybody was going out to Utah and California and Nevada looking for gold. What were those people called? The gold miners. What were they called? They're called speculators.
Mm-hmm.
And they were taking a big risk, some of them risking their entire wealth for the chance of striking it richer in a gold mine somewhere or finding a nugget. People killed for it. People stole and things of that nature. So if the new plan is no plan, which I think is wrong, if the new plan is to have no plan, what are the long-term consequences of that? Is that even sustainable?
No, yeah, it's not sustainable because your speculation is then your foundation, and
That's right.
yeah, and
Very good point.
You need to have a foundation, and then maybe there's some room for some speculation.
Right.
after you have a
So
foundation.
let's just quickly spend a second going over the foundation. Everyone should have an emergency fund of 3 to 6 months of living expenses. All right. What happens if you lose your job? We don't want to take those extra risks. That's the foundation for a good financial picture, is having that emergency fund, avoiding the use of debt,
Mm-hmm.
only living within your means. These are all good things that need to be done there to build that sustainable wealth.
Yeah, so I guess the question is then how do we acknowledge the pressures that we're facing without dismissing the risks? What does it look like for young adults to get a sense of stability today in a world that's just changing a lot and there's a lot of moving factors?
Well, I think Sam, if you go back, and if we were to go back in time and talk to a midlife adult with each generation, you're Gen Z, or
Gen Z.
you're
Yeah.
Gen Z. I'm Gen X. All right. My parents were baby boomers. All right. Before that was the greatest generation. Every generation of adults has gone through their own version of an economic, I wouldn't say crisis, but their own economic climate,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so, we have to remember that. For the greatest generation, it was the disruption of World War II, and going through that and dealing with rations and things, and while our men and women were fighting overseas. Then you had the baby boomer generation that you had to deal with Vietnam. You had all sorts of different ups and downs in the economy. We had a very high inflation period as those young adults were entering adulthood.
Mm-hmm.
It was 16, 17% to get a home mortgage. So we've all, and in my time, it was more about inflation. We had a couple of recessions, corporate restructuring, all these different things, and you're dealing with inflation, but digital acceleration, rapid economic cycles, and things. So every generation faces their own form of the economy in some way, and every generation has adapted and gotten through that. It's just the speed of that has increased, and we have to remove those distractions. For one thing, I think we need to remove some of those digital distractions. The stuff you see on social media, I'm sorry, I'll say it here, it's not real. It's not real. And yes, there's a TikTok expert that has 1 million followers or whatever, and he's just telling you to do stuff, but it's a bunch of baloney. All right. You just have to ignore that. Let's put this from a spiritual perspective. And then I'm reminded of a verse in Hebrews that I wrote down. I want to be able to read it here. Hebrews 12:11. No discipline seems pleasant at the time, but painful. Later on, however, it produces a harvest of righteousness and peace for those who have been trained by it. We're called by God to be good stewards, and that requires patience.
Mm-hmm.
Having everything now, having everything where we get it now, get it fast, that's not patience. That is a problem. So to grow our wealth as young adults, we have to be consistent with that.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be consistent about paying yourself first. You tithe, pay yourself first, then you live with what's left over for your expenses. A lot of times we do it the exact opposite. Mm-hmm. We fund our lifestyle, we'll go into debt to do it, and then we might set aside money for growth later on, if there's anything left. And then after that, maybe, yeah, sure, I'm supposed to tithe something, so I'll give a little bit there. I'll put a $20 bill into the offering plate at church. That's what the world sees it like. We need to look at the opposite, because our culture will shift. The economy will shift over time, but God's principles for money management and wealth management have never changed.
Yeah.
They are the same 2,000 years ago as they are today. And wisdom compounds when we practice that. So, here's some questions to consider, and maybe you can think of one or two. If you're a young adult, you're frustrated. Am I reacting emotionally to this economic frustration, right? Am I pursuing a rapid upside of the expense of long-term stability? Because wealth is fleeting.
Mm-hmm.
You have to build it over a long period of time. And I would challenge the parents or maybe a potential mentor that's listening right now, ask yourself, are you really listening? Because I do think that Gen Z has a lot of good things to say, and they have a unique perspective that my generation didn't have. And I think that's important to listen. But at the same time, finance and building wealth, the rules are the same. The environment can change, but the rules are the same. The principles are the same. So, when I think, when younger adults, when they treat today's economic environment as differently, it's not automatically a rejection of best practices or best advice. They're just simply trying to adapt to their environment. So kudos to you. All is not lost. You are still in the hunt. You can benefit from having guidance from someone older, wiser, a financial advisor. I'm not trying to say I'm wiser. I'm definitely older. But you need that guide because those biblical principles about wealth and possessions hasn't changed.
Right.
It's the same. But I ask you, your call to action is to evaluate your behaviors, right? Is it aligned with your long-term values? And if you haven't set those goals, that's a priority. Make sure that you do that. You want to build a financial plan that accounts for the realities today, but is still looking to those long-term fundamentals. And sometimes that's hard. You need a guide. And so that's all I'm saying. Folks, if you've been listening to Spend Life Well Show, as always, you can contact us via email at info@clearvistafinancial.com, or you can send us a text. We respond to those all the time, 254-282-0495. That's 254-282-0495. As always, you can visit us on our website at Clear Vista Financial. I want to thank you, Sam, for joining the podcast today. And folks, you've been listening to the Spend Life Well Show. Next time, we'll talk about another topic, and we hope you join us. Thanks for joining.
Securities offered through Cambridge Investment Research Incorporated, a broker-dealer, member FINRA SIPC. Advisory services through Cambridge Investment Research Advisors Incorporated, a registered investment advisor. Cambridge and Clear Vista Financial are not affiliated. Discussions in the show should not be construed as recommendations or investment advice. Always consult with your investment professional before making important investment decisions.
And you should subscribe. Hit the subscribe button.